That's probably tacky to my first 2 seconds with you to be drinking kombucha. But I did. I'm going to wait a moment before I begin into this announcement, just to see if I can get a few people in here before I just talk to, you know, this window that I'm sitting in front of. So until then, I wanted to pull up a sample. Let's see. Here. Nope, that's not the right. Okay. Okay, so I said I was going to stall, but I'm just going to get into this. If you're finding me randomly right now, my name is Isabeau, and I'm a singer-songwriter originally from Waia'u, Maui. I've been on YouTube for quite some time. Not always doing well, but I've been posting here my originals and covers and things like that for, I think, over 6-7 years. And since then, I've spent time on and off with different friends and groups in my own little home studio setting, and then sometimes in other studio settings, but nothing has really materialized in a way where I felt good about putting it on the larger platform. So I released a really old EP on Bandcamp and then just hard copies that I sell on Amazon. And then for the last 6-7 years, or ever since I've started YouTube, I pretty much been releasing either a new original or a cover, probably more covers initially, every week. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but that's been a consistent labor of mine, an intentional one. And in that time, it's allowed me some perspective about what I want to be singing about, why I ought to be doing this, what kind of things I can do on my own in a home studio setting, and what kind of things are not impossible, but at least with where I'm currently at, impossible for me to pull off on my own. So I need to partner myself with other people who have the space and the resources and the know-how to achieve a better sound. So all that to say, after some intentional planning and goal setting, I finally have a single released on iTunes, Apple Music, and Spotify. It's on CDBaby too, but I'm really not sure how many people go to CDBaby to buy music. But maybe it's a thing. Maybe it's a thing. I don't know. I didn't think it was a thing, but I also don't use Spotify a whole lot, and that sounds like a really dumb statement because everyone's on Spotify. So yeah, the song is called Here. I have the lyrics and more of the story on its way for my Patreon saints on Patreon. I'm making a zine for it, but a lot of that's to tell the backstory behind the song, but not too much because I kind of want it just to be what it becomes to you. Because I wrote it from a personal place, but I dedicated it to 4 specific students. I like to refer to them as Las Poetas Cuarto. It's Estrella, it's Leslie, Laura, and Perla. And they are 4 young women at the high school that I work at who are brilliant writers, whether they know it or not. They are what I would consider a quiet brilliance. And we were all given a challenge to write either to the theme aquí, here, or calle, street. And I chose here. So I took that theme and I wrote it from me. But I wanted to dedicate it to them because I feel like the theme is for them too, if they wanted to take it. So the song is Here. I worked with Sasha Mueller, the most out of Dead Ant Thelma's studio in Southeast Portland. And Sasha was just amazing to work with, and he was patient, but also really dead set on helping me understand the sound that I was achieving. Because if you know anything about me, if you've been following my YouTube channel for any amount of time, you know that this has primarily been a solo effort on purpose, but that is one thing that caught me by surprise, was that question, like, what's your sound? I'm like, well, I don't know yet. Like, I have ideas of it. I know what I don't want it to be. but there's a lot of things that I like that maybe aren't a part of my sound. So having to wade through all those things and find it, it was really important for me to be able to partner with someone who was able and willing to do that. So Sasha was amazing, and then had some amazing musicians come in and do some session work. And then Dana White with Specialized Mastering, he did a wonderful job. And a lot of these people, I just felt like it's probably a change in me. I felt more confident to express what I was looking for and what I was hoping. But I also believe it was their professionalism and their personality, and they're just who they were, that made it a really good fit. I learned that a lot of work goes into a single. Like I knew that just from my small setup here at home that I do my demos and YouTube videos. I knew that it's a labor, but it was just like a real life experience in a studio setting, unlike mine, that reminded me like, yes, it's everything and more than what you imagined. And when it's done well, it just feels really good. Like I felt proud of it. Yeah, I felt very proud of it, or I feel very proud of it. So if you are interested in listening to it, it's on Apple Music. You can buy it on iTunes. You can stream it on Spotify. You can mosey on over to CDBaby and buy it there. Do people do that? Or it's available, or it has been available. It was available early for all my patrons on Patreon. And I'm going to try to find a concise way to explain this because it's hard to pitch myself. Patreon is a subscription model, and folks have asked me if I would do crowdfunding, which I totally think is awesome if you can do it well. But I'm treating and I'm investing in Patreon as if it were my crowdfunding. Oh, I just realized I was going to use this. This is supposed to be my timer, so I don't talk too much. Oops. I wonder if you can speed it up. I've been talking for like 7.5 minutes. My bad, guys. I do have to give myself a time restraint, or I'm gonna talk too much. Anyways, back to it. Patreon. What is it? Oh, it's it's the model that I'm using to find people who are genuinely interested in my current work and curious and invested in seeing me invest in it more. So there are a lot of wonderful Patreon saints who have been hanging with me for years, and they've been hearing my originals and the singer-songwriter process. They've been hearing some of my favorite covers and my feedback about time in different studios. My head is itchy. They've chatted with me about everything from songwriting to collaboration successes and failures and lessons learned. And it felt really good and satisfying to be able to commit to this studio time and then come out on the other end with a finished product and be like, this is for you. I made this for you. I also just realized that there's a chat going on. My bad. I'm going to actually read them now after I finish this thought, because I once again just got distracted. Oh, it's crazy. Feel free in the chat if you have questions for me, or if because I'm bouncing around from one thought to the next in a very manic manner, feel free to ask questions or comments, and then I'll get to them as soon as I finish this thought. So yes, it just felt really good to share that with the patrons, and I'm looking forward to being able to share more with them, but also more that's related to the song. I'm just excited to get it into people's phones and cars and living rooms. And I suppose that only the person or the people involved will ever fully get like the weight of it, because you're the only one who knows your story and the things that you've had to like mentally or physically or financially overcome to be able to share in this capacity. But I will say that I am very proud of it. And it's different. It's different than I think if you've been listening to my solo stuff, you're going to be like, didn't expect this. But hopefully it's like I didn't expect this, and I like it. And if you don't like it, that's okay too. Just you don't have to tell me or anything like that. Hey John, it's good to see you again. I was just on Instagram, so if people are wondering, I basically had the same conversation on Instagram just a bit ago. Maybe not the same, but very similar. It's good to hear your thoughts and pieces of your heart. Plus, you have lovely calming voice. Hey, thank you. I don't know what else to say. Maybe I'm relieved when I hear that what am I trying to say? When your music is received well, I would think that some people would assume that I'm not confident enough if I say I'm relieved. But I don't mean I'm relieved like, oh, I just thought this was crap until someone like affirmed me out loud. That's not what I mean. I mean I'm relieved and I was proud of it. And I'm glad about what I did. But you never know how it's going to land on the other side. And you can't assume that it will land and be planted the way that you'd hoped for everyone, because we're all just really different creatures. So when someone says, I heard it, I took it in, and it was calming or brought peace, or it spoke to a certain area of me, or it brought joy, or whatever the case. Now I feel like I'm like trying to prop myself up. Those things, it's like relief, like, it meant something to me and it could mean something to someone else. How rad. That's so cool. So yeah. Anyways, I'm definitely not going to wait for this to end because we are going to be here for a very long time. Stoked for the future music. I'm just going to read questions, or if you have questions, I will answer them. But if we don't, then I'll find out the least awkward way to close this up. Stoked for future music. Thank you. I am too. I'm also nervous because I know the process. So I think my own OCD-ness is like, don't mess it up. How do you choose the songs you cover? Is it too vague to say like I just cover what I like? That is too vague. In the beginning, I think I was, by the beginning, I mean my initial start on YouTube, I was a lot more strategic to cover songs that were soon to be released, and to take advantage of people looking for those new releases or artists who are a lot more famous or further along than I was, because the goal was just to find an audience, like have them maybe trust a version of a song that I made from an artist they liked or a band they liked, and then maybe they would give me the time of day when I had said like I have something to say through my own original music. With that being said, I'm not saying I don't have strategy now. That would be dishonest. However, I feel like I built enough of a foundation that I can take a lot more liberties and not just have to cover songs that maybe I think will get a high view count, but that I can cover songs from artists or bands I'm like, I just really like them. Or I like the individuals. Like songwriting is a big thing. So if an artist or a band has really strong songwriting, that's really attractive to me. There's more than that. The music, the feel. I know it's hard to quantify, but the feel of something is really big. Like if it makes me go, then I probably want to. I don't always successfully cover them, but there's that thought probably pops into my mind. Like I want to be in on this. Maybe I can like recreate that feeling with me on my own. I hope that answered that. Do you have any chord progressions that you rely on or find most appealing for writing with your songs? I've been told by students of mine, not music students. I'm not a music teacher for those who have asked that before. I'm a former social studies teacher, now teaching leadership, like student council. But a handful of them will be like, your song sounds sad. Like there's a lot of minor chords. I do realize that is pleasing to me. not because I just like sadness, but the road by which I get to joy and resolution or answers usually has to pass through some sort of like sorrow for it to feel real. And I don't always resolve them because not everything's resolved. You can't have, not every song can be like, things were bad and then they got good. Da-da. That's something that I've learned. That's a side note. Not every song needs to be resolved. I don't know what, I mean, I do know what, but there are certain things in me where you're like, I can't write about heavy things unless I close it up and stitch it up and be like, don't worry, everyone. We're all going to be okay. And I'm like, you know what? Sometimes my hope is that we will. And I do consider myself a full of hopeful person. But I don't think that it's helpful or healing to say, it's all going to be okay, and then deny the fact that sometimes songs just need to rest on the and this was bad. No resolve. If that makes sense. That wasn't even a question that was asked. That was just me wanting to say something. Favorite song from Bon Iver. Favorite song. That was an unattractive sound. Sorry. Also, I think that my camera has been freezing. Sorry, everyone who's like, she keeps freezing on a weird face. It's been freezing every time I go like, Holocene, or I don't know how to pronounce it. Micchant. Let me see. I really just have a lot. And again, that's like, even though Bon Iver is not the genre that I write out of, and maybe my tastes are kind of crazy broad. Like there's some days where I'm like, the last thing I need playing is Bon Iver because it's going to make me emote like crazy. But it is one of those, he and his crew are a band that you just kind of return to. And like Volcano Choir, excuse me, had to burp. You guys know Volcano Choir? Of course you do. Their stuff is amazing too. Yeah, I would say those two. Sorry, I'm looking back through the albums. Oh, it's Micchicant. Durr. Come on, though. You really have a lot to say with your original music, but even your approach 7 nights per celebrity and drugs of stream drugs by chance. Cool. No, that's the hope. It was, I actually stumbled upon that accidentally. And by that, I mean tweaking covers to have, and intentionally to have my own, like to feel the freedom to play with it. And it started with a Rachel Yamagata song called Be Your Love. When I learned it, I was like, oh, I got to play it just like her, which is not wrong to play just like the artist. I think that's, sometimes you do need to play it just like the artist because theirs is the best form, or try your best to stay true to form. So I played it a ton for like friends on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's up here somewhere. It's not very good. Don't look for it. Anyways, I think it was years later that I was listening to it and realized my cover was nothing like the original. Like oddly unfamiliar. And on one hand, it kind of freaked me out. I kept thinking like, how was I so unclear in this that I even called this a cover? It's kind of its own thing. But it also kind of unlocked this sense that you can do that. Like, I think most of the time, I really like it when someone takes a song that I love and not necessarily makes it better. Sometimes they do, but just creates a new original form of it. Because if I wanted to hear it just like they're like identical, then I would probably just listen to the original artist most of the time. Once in a while, a cover artist covers a song and you're like, wow, you did way better. And yeah. What do I like about my Gretsch guitar? I love its resonance. hence the term resonator. It just has a different feel. Also, I just love the body of it. Like it feels really it's gonna sound weird. It's chunkier than my Martin, but it just fits really well into my lap. Has nothing to do with the sound. It's all about the feel. How does your heart and soul handle how vulnerable you are in your music? Or basically, how do you be brave while sharing your heart and vulnerability with the world in your songs? Whew. Sarah. Well, I would say that I haven't always felt that way, and I don't feel arrived. Like I'm not at a point where I just feel untouchable. Like people's opinions don't bead off me like water off a duck's back. Sorry, it's an inside joke. But I do definitely feel more able to hear critique or just know the reality that not everyone is gonna love what I put out. I mean, I don't always love what I put out. Well, most of the time, if I'm sharing it online, I've arrived at a love for it. But in the beginning, it was kind of, mom says I'm scared brave. And it was this combo of I'm scared to death of trolls on YouTube and just not being liked, or what if I put everything out there and so personal? If someone doesn't like it, it's not like they're saying, I don't like your hat, and you can just be okay and take off your hat and throw it. And like, they don't like it. These songs, this voice, this music I'm making, like this is me. Like this is so like woven to my being that if they critique it, it's gonna feel like they're like cutting at me. So that was especially scary getting started. But the scared brave part was I knew that was a possibility, but I also knew that I really, really, really wanted to share these things, and that some of the more vulnerable stuff, not just the maybe pleasant stuff, but the vulnerable stuff, I thought like, ought not this be the norm? I think it's this feeling like, I want this to be the norm. I want these to be the conversations. I want this to be a safe place. So when I feel healthy enough to do it, I'm just going to act like it is. And then maybe establish that as the new norm. Not that one person can do that, but I think you can feel slight shifts. So especially scary in the beginning. Now I still feel like I have to be scared brave, but I feel a lot more. Growing older is kind of a beautiful thing. It's easier for me to go from discouragement and fear to resolve and confidence. Like that reaction time is getting shorter. I expect people not always to respond well, and not just me, but I expect that not everyone is going to be like stoked on what I'm doing. They're all doing their own things. And I think the fact that I know that, and I still feel a burning desire to still create and share and be what you said, like approach this with vulnerability, reminds me that it's what I actually want to do. I'm not doing it to feign like this intimacy. I'm like, no, I really believe this. So that's nice when you realize that you actually believe something or you really want to do something, and it's not for that person or that person. It's like, no, this is like in me to do this. So that was a lot of words. Thanks for listening. I don't know if I answered it. Escuchas música en español. El niño perdido. Un poco. If you don't know this artist and her band, which so many of you probably do because she is amazing, but one band and artist individually who I listen to, she does most of her stuff right now is primarily in Espanol, but it is also in English, and it's also like a combination because she is in both worlds. Her name is Luz Elena Mendoza, and she's the lead vocalist and guitarist for the band Y La Bamba. So if you haven't heard of them right now, leave this, ditch me, and go find Luz Elena Mendoza, Y La Bamba. That's my recommendation. So yes, I listen to some because I'm not fluent. Um, it's not always easy because lyrics are so important to me. So it takes me a lot of time to like take a song and then figure out pieces of it so that I know. But a lot of these artists or these two that I'm going to mention to you, they are able to communicate so much through the sound that they create that even though the language is not fully there, you feel like you can get the sense of where they're going. And then one that was recommended was Juana Molina. I believe she's either from, these are two very different countries. I was going to say Brazil, but no, she's from Argentina, I think. But yes, those are my recommendations. They are wonderful. Okay. I've always wondered, are all the books on the shelf real? It looks so much like a backdrop of somebody's. I'm so curious. Okay. It's to the point where I try to spot doubles. I have a problem. These are all real books. I need to wash my hair. I would show you the rest of the house, but I need to clean, and Tyson's an introvert. We have a lot of books. Tyson's business is one of curating libraries, buying and selling, and middlemanning libraries, schools, businesses, individuals, personal libraries. Excuse me. So these are all real books. I have not read all of them. I don't have the time for that. I wish I did. If any of you, I know a lot of like my students, right? I don't like to read. I'm like, but if you could just put them in a room full of some of these books with such interesting content, like the covers themselves, the aesthetic, it's like, I have this bad habit of starting. I have a stack by my bed of half-done books because I'll start into one because I'm like, oh, I just want to know this. And then I'll get distracted by another one. There are doubles because it's a business. And this room is like literally a drop in a bucket compared to what's going on in the rest of the house. So they're all real. I have not read them all. If you don't like to read, I'm so sorry that someone traumatized you with reading growing up. But it's not too late to find a book that really like electrifies you. So find a good book and day in. Yeah, hopefully that answered your question. They're not fake. Tyson's like super, not anti, he wouldn't judge anyone if they had like the fake books, but we're like, why do fake books when you could have real books? Music, I just got this video and music on Spotify. Joanna, it's on Spotify. Like right now, go check it out. My deal, I don't have an artist profile up yet because I'm super behind. I know, I've been told, I've been like scolded for that. And I've taken the feedback. I'm going to change that this weekend. I just have to finish finals tomorrow. But the music is on. That was such a good segue. Here's a quick reminder before this sand runs out that I started this mainly to answer questions, but mainly to announce that my single Here is up on Apple Music, iTunes, Spotify, and CDBaby. And it's available for free with some extra perks for patrons who sign up now. So whatever fits your fancy, streaming music, buying it, subscription model, whatever, I would just love for it to get in your hands. Actually, in your ears. I want it to get in your ears. And then you can message me on Facebook or Instagram, or I think Instagram is my email, but I'd love to hear what you guys think. And if you think it's worthwhile, like if it actually hits a chord in you, then please share it. If not, no worries. It should be organic. Don't share crap. How do you develop the connection between lyrics, your own as well as those you cover, and the feeling that builds the music? Oh, that's a good question. Some of it feels intuitive, but intuition, like anything, is built, I believe, is built over time through like trial and error and experience. And so I watch, this makes me sound so creepy. I watch people a lot. I like people watching. I examine my own thinking a lot. I think the term is metacognition. It made me sound like thought I was super smart. I regret saying that. And so when I write my own songs, obviously that's a little easier to connect because it starts off more like poetry. I typically start with lyrics first. I have started with music, but my typical practice is lyrics first. So it starts from here, whatever that place is. And sometimes it's not purely my story. Maybe it's something that like I saw, felt, or listened to that kind of strained through me. So I just try to I'm learning how to be more honest in how it comes out. That's taken some time. I did a lot of editing of myself earlier on, and I'm okay with that. I had to like figure some things out and get safe with myself before I could stop editing my writing while I was writing. When I cover people, I usually spend some time with their lyrics, like listening to them quite a bit. If possible, I'd like to find videos of them online singing their song, just do some research. And I don't always approach it like, I'm gonna do research. Oh, look at how they sing their song. Like sometimes it's just kind of drawn to the artist or the band or the music itself, and then I just follow them because I'm curious. And then by that, you start to see like, oh, this is who this person is. These are their lyrics, or this is the sound they're trying to create, or these are things that matter to them. And then because you just can't ever get away from it because it's all subjective, then it always just filters through me. So there's a lot of times, most of the times, those covers, I'm probably sharing something that's less from the artist and more like how it came out, how I felt about the lyrics. Like maybe, whoa, it's late. I may have even misinterpreted lyrics before, especially with some of these artists who have really obscure lyrics and you're still digesting them while you're learning it to cover it. And then I'll recover it and listen back to it later and go, that didn't mean that. But I felt it in its inaccurate form. If that makes sense. I don't know. I hope that makes sense. I hope that answered that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for stopping by. Covering music so many times. Cool. Is it Monaghan? Hopefully I'm saying that right. I might be butchering it. It has been an absolute honor to share music on this platform and have people listen. I joke about it often that in the beginning, I wanted to be heard, but I kind of just resigned myself. Like it's just going to be me, this computer, one random dude on the other side of the world, maybe, and then my mom. And whereas it might have started off like that, and I really appreciate those people who listened and stuck with me. It's just been such a gift to be able to know that if I could just continue up with this hustle and be diligent with it every week over these years, that there would be people who would come around and stick around and keep listening. So thank you for listening, you guys. I'm going to go get ready for bed so that I can go to work tomorrow and be somewhat fresh. Go find Here, the song. Again, it's on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, CDBaby. I'd love for you to have it in your ear holes. I didn't have to say that's the worst way to end a live stream. Okay. Thank you. I'll talk to you guys later. Come find me on Facebook and Instagram. And if you are in Portland, I have some gigs coming up soon. I would love to meet you guys in person. Cool. Have a good night.